In the heart of London, 1905, a young German with an impossible dream walked the foggy streets. His name was Hans Wilsdorf. While the world still trusted pocket watches, he whispered a revolutionary idea: a wristwatch that could be both elegant and reliable. With his brother-in-law, Alfred Davis, he founded Wilsdorf and Davis. Their workshop was modest, but their ambition was boundless. 3 years later, in 1908, magic struck. While riding a horse-drawn bus through London, Wilsdorf heard a whisper, a name: Rolex. It was short, easy to pronounce in any language, and looked beautiful on a watch dial. He didn't know it then, but he had just named a legend. Then came the Great War. Britain, bleeding from the conflict, slapped a crushing 33.3% tax on luxury goods, gold, silver, and yes, watches. For Wilsdorf, a German national in enemy territory, the situation was impossible. With a heavy heart, he packed his dreams and moved the company to Bienne, Switzerland in 1915, later settling in Geneva. The war had forced Rolex to become Swiss. World War II. The promise, but it was the Second World War that revealed the soul of the man behind the crown. While Nazi armies marched across Europe, thousands of British soldiers rotted in prisoner-of-war camps. Wilsdorf, the German-born patriot of his adopted Britain, made a stunning announcement. Any prisoner of war may order a Rolex by mail through the Red Cross. Payment will be deferred until the war ends. Over 3,000 prisoners dared to write back. And Rolex, incredibly impossibly, shipped their finest chronographs, the reference 3525, straight into the heart of Nazi camps. When the war ended, Wilsdorf prepared to forgive all debts, but the survivors insisted on paying. Families of the fallen sent checks in memory of their dead. It was a moment of human honor that defined Rolex forever. And here is the secret history. British intelligence once suspected the German-born Wilsdorf of disloyalty, but declassified files later proved the truth. He refused to sell a single watch to the Nazis. Hans Wilsdorf loved twice. First came Florence Frances May Crotty, a British woman he married in 1911. She stood beside him through the London years, through the war, through the struggle. They had no children, and when she died in 1944, Wilsdorf was left with a fortune and no heir. So he did something unprecedented. He created the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation, a charity in Geneva, and upon his death in 1960, he gave every single share of Rolex, to this foundation. That is why, to this day, Rolex is owned by a charity. Its profits do not go to billionaires. They go to good causes. His second wife, Betty Wilsdorf Mettler, lived in his final years, but history remembers her only in shadow. The true love story, and the true mystery, belongs to Florence, the woman whose death gave birth to the most unique company on earth. In 1965, in the Acacias district of Geneva, a 6-story tower of green glass and dark steel rose toward the sky. For more stories plunged into the earth below. This was the beginning. Here, in this quiet neighborhood, Hans Wilsdorf's successors planted the flag. Acacias became the spiritual and intellectual capital of Rolex. The architects sat here, sketching the curves of future legends. The engineers whispered new inventions into silent rooms. The final assembly lines hummed with the soft touch of human hands. For decades, this was the only face Rolex showed the world. Then, between 2002 and 2006, the building was torn open and reborn. Glass facades replaced, interiors reimagined. Today, Acacias still houses the executive soul of the company. The final quality control happens here. The last breath of inspection before a watch meets its owner. But Acacias was never meant to stand alone. In 2005, just a few kilometers from Geneva's center, a giant awoke in Plan-les-Ouates. This was different. Acacias was the brain, Plan-les-Ouates was the muscle. Here, no one designs movements or sketches dials. Here, they forge the body. This sprawling factory does one thing and one thing only. It manufactures the cases, the shell that protects the heart, and the bracelets, the metal that hugs your wrist. Inside these walls, raw oyster steel, Rolex's secret 904L alloy, is pressed, shaped, polished, and transformed into the unmistakable silhouette of a submariner or the flowing lines of a Jubilee bracelet. It is a factory of alchemists. They take metal and turn it into armor. In the year 2000, Rolex completed another masterpiece, Chêne-Bourg. Locals call the building Chêne 4. It rises 8 stories high, 4 of them buried underground. Its footprint covers 33,000 square meters, half the size of 6 football fields. Here, the faces are born. This is where dials are painted, where hour markers are laid down like jewels on a queen's crown. This is where Cerachrom bezels are baked in blazing heat until they become harder than steel, scratch-proof, color-fast, eternal. And in a hidden corner, in a room as quiet as a cathedral, master jewelers set diamonds and sapphires into gold. They do not rush. A single stone out of place is a stone rejected. Here, Rolex learns to smile at the world. Now we travel north, away from Geneva, to the foot of the Jura Mountains, to the city of Bienne, or Biel as the Swiss Germans call it. This is the largest secret of all. Rolex began building here in 2009. The first phase opened in 2012, a building so vast it contains 400,000 cubic meters of space. But that was only the beginning. In 2022, Rolex completed a billion-franc expansion. Today, the Bienne facility covers 92,000 square meters. Inside, 1.2 kilometers of internal railways snake between 22 workstations, carrying tiny parts from hand to hand. And here, in this silent, humming cathedral of precision, work over 2,000 men and women. They build the movements. A Rolex movement is a heart made of 200 to 400 tiny pieces. Gears, springs, screws, rotors. Each piece must be perfect. Each assembly must be flawless. These workers do not shout. They do not rush. They breathe in rhythm with the machines. Bienne is the beating heart of Rolex. Without it, the crown has no pulse. One day, Wilsdorf asked himself, why must watches fear water? His answer was the Oyster, the world's first waterproof wristwatch. The case was sealed like a shell, protecting the delicate heart inside. To prove it, he placed oysters in fish bowls in shop windows. Then, in 1927, a young British swimmer named Mercedes Gleitze strapped an oyster around her neck and swam across the English Channel. The water froze her. The waves battered her. But when she reached France, the watch was still ticking. The world gasped. Rolex was born. Before 1931, automatic watches were clumsy. Wilsdorf perfected them. He invented a half-disc rotor that spun with every movement of your wrist, winding the mainspring forever. He called it perpetual. No batteries, no winding, just motion. Today, every automatic watch owes a debt to this invention. And the name Oyster Perpetual became the heartbeat of Rolex. Rolex divides its soul into 2 families. The classics, elegance for every day. The date 1956 called the President, the first watch to spell out the full day and date. Made only of precious gold or platinum, worn by kings, presidents, and mafia bosses. The date just 1945, the best-selling Rolex of all time. The first self-changing date window, magnified by the Cyclops lens. A tiny bubble that became a trademark. The Professionals, built for extremes. The Submariner, 1953, the king of dive watches. With its rotating bezel, it measured underwater time, but its true magic? It looked as good with a tuxedo as with a wet suit. The Cosmograph Daytona, 1963, a chronograph for race car drivers. 4 decades. It was a niche tool. Then actor Paul Newman wore one. In 2017, his personal Daytona sold for $17.8 million, the most expensive wristwatch ever auctioned. The GMT Master, born for Pan Am pilots. Its 2-tone bezel, red and blue, the Pepsi, tracked 2 time zones simultaneously. The Explorer, 1953, climbed Mount Everest with Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay. Simple, legible, indestructible. T. Rolex does not buy materials. It invents them. Oyster steel. A special 904L steel, more resistant to corrosion, more brilliant in shine than any other steel on Earth. Eve Rose Gold. Their own 18-karat rose gold. A secret formula that never, ever fades. Cerachrom. A ceramic bezel so hard it almost cannot be scratched. It will look new 100 years from now. Every Rolex is assembled by hand in Geneva. Machines assist, but human fingers do the final magic. T. Behind the luxury lies a heart of charity. The Hans Wilsdorf Foundation, owner of all Rolex, quietly funds hospitals, schools, and cultural projects in Geneva. The company's profits serve the public good. Then there is the Perpetual Planet Initiative. Rolex sponsors scientists and explorers who protect the Earth. Felix Brookschurch invented a dosifier machine that adds vitamins to flour in Tanzania, saving millions of children from malnutrition. Dr. Mark Kendall created the nanopatch, a vaccine delivery system that needs no needles or refrigeration. Dr. Sui Boyi, the mother of corals in Hong Kong, restores dying coral reefs with biotechnology. Since 1976, the Rolex Awards for Enterprise have funded over 150 unsung heroes, changing the world. T. In 1905, when Hans Wilsdorf first whispered the name Rolex into the London fog, he had no crown, he had no throne, he had only a dream and a small workshop. But he had an idea for a symbol. It was not a crown at first. No. It was an open hand, 5 fingers stretched wide, like a craftsman showing his work to the world. Why a hand? His partner asked. Wilsdorf smiled. Because our watches are not made by machines. They are made by hands. Human hands. Skilled hands. Hands that do not rush. The hand was never officially registered, but it lived in Wilsdorf's mind like a seed waiting for soil. By 1925, Rolex had conquered water. The oyster case was a legend. The world was watching. Wilsdorf looked at his watches and felt something was missing. The dials were beautiful, but they had no voice. No signature, no silent promise whispered to the buyer. He called his designers. I want a symbol, he said. Something that sits on the dial like a king sits on a throne. Something that says, this is not just a watch. This is the best. The designers sketched. They erased. They sketched again. Then someone drew a crown. Wilsdorf leaned forward. His eyes lit up. A crown, he whispered. Yes. A crown for every achievement. Look closely at the Rolex crown today. Count the points. 5. No more. No less. Why 5? Because the word Rolex has 5 letters. Each point of the crown is a silent guardian of one letter. R. O. L. E. X. And beneath the crown, the name sits like a foundation stone. Together, they form a single truth. The crown protects the name. The name deserves the crown. But there is another secret, older than the crown itself. Before the 5 points, before the gold and the silver, the crown was not a crown at all. It was an open hand with 5 fingers. The hand became a crown. The 5 fingers became 5 points. And the human touch became a symbol of Rolex. So here is the truth about Rolex. It began as a dream in London. It was forged in Swiss mountains. It survived 2 world wars by refusing to bow to Nazis and refusing to forget its debts to fallen soldiers. It is owned by a charity. Its steel is special. Its gold never fades. Its watches survive the ocean floor and the summit of Everest. And when you wear a Rolex, you are not just wearing a timepiece. You are wearing a crown. One that has spent a century proving that precision, beauty, and honor can coexist. The crown. Perpetual. Forever. A Rolex does not just tell time. It tells a story. So here is the truth about Rolex. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the true story of the crown. It was forged. If you enjoyed this video, it survived 2 world wars by subscribe and click the bell icon to never miss another story. To fallen soldiers. Thank you for watching. It is owned by a charity. Its steel is special. Its gold never fades. Its watches survive the ocean floor and the summit of Everest. And when you wear a